The empty wicker birdcage beside her began to rattle impatiently. Zoey gave it a sharp look, as if to say they were almost there. It stopped. She glanced at the cab driver to see if he had noticed. The old fig-shaped man was watching her in the rearview mirror, his silver eyebrows raised. Several seconds passed, and he continued to stare, which she found disconcerting because she felt his eyes should really be on the long bridge over the water. But he seemed to be waiting for her to respond. "Did you say something?" Zoey said. He hadn't spoken a word since his "where to?" when he'd picked her up at the airport. "I asked if this was your first trip to Mallow Island." "Oh," she said. "Yes." The birdcage rattled in disagreement, but she ignored it this time. It was her first trip. The first trip she could remember, anyway. "Sightseeing?" "I'm moving there. I start college in Charleston this fall." "Well," he said, drawing the word out like a tune. "Don't hear of too many people moving to Mallow Island. It's mostly a tourist place, because of that book by Roscoe Avenger. You know it?" Zoey nodded, distracted now because the small sea island had just appeared on the horizon, and she didn't want to miss a moment of it. It was rising from the marshy coastal water like a lackadaisical sea creature sunning itself, not a care in the world. The closer they got to it, the more her excitement grew. This was really happening. As soon as they were off the bridge, the cab driver took a left and traveled down a 2-lane highway that skirted the perimeter of the island. The water, dense with reedy vegetation, ended just inches from the pavement. But it didn't seem to bother the drivers of cars with out-of-state license plates. They zipped along confidently, following decorative metal signs that read, "The Mallow Island Resort Hotel, 3 miles ahead. The Sugar Warehouse, 2 miles ahead. Historic Trade Street, next right." Afraid he might miss the turn, Zoey was about to point it out to the cab driver, but he'd already put on his blinker. She sat forward, not knowing where to look first. If she hadn't known that Mallow Island had been famous for its marshmallow candy over a century ago, Trade Street would have told her right away. It was busy and mildly surreal. The sidewalks were crowded with tourists taking pictures of old, narrow buildings painted in faded pastel colors. Nearly every restaurant and bakery had a chalkboard sign with a marshmallow item on its menu: marshmallow popcorn, chocolate milk served in toasted marshmallow cups, sweet potato fries with marshmallow dipping sauce. Zoey rolled down the window, and a thick combination of salt from the Atlantic and sugar from the bakeries blew in. It was both strange and familiar. She wondered if this smell was bringing up a long-forgotten memory from when she was a little girl. She struggled to recall anything, but, as with most things concerning her mother, her memory was more wish than real. "Are you sure the place you're looking for is on Trade Street?" the cab driver asked, braking hard when a dazzled tourist decided to cross the street without looking. Zoey had to put her arm out to stop the birdcage beside her from toppling over. Pigeon was going to be seriously pissed when Zoey finally let her out. "This is a business section, not residential." Nervous that she might have gotten some detail wrong, Zoey rooted through her backpack to find the piece of paper on which she'd written the information. "Yes," she said, reading the paper. "It's called the Dellawisp condos. The building manager said the turn wasn't marked, but to go down the alley beside Sugar and Scribble Bakery, and you'll find it." That was the hope, anyway. If this place didn't work out, there was no backup plan. She'd be stuck here with no place to live this summer.